Your phone rings. It's your attorney. He says, "You're going to want to sit down for this." You can feel the tension in his voice. The next few moments of your life are going to blow up everything you've built for the last 5 years. He's calling you about how you interact with your wholesale sellers on the phone and how it's leaving you exposed to a massive lawsuit that can destroy your business. I know about these phone calls because I received one. I was the defendant in a federal class action TCPA lawsuit, and I never made the first cold call. So I'm going to show you exactly how you can spot the risky behaviors that can destroy your freedom machine and how to fix your business fast so that it never has this problem again. Right now, you are completely blind to a legal explosion. And you won't fully understand it until you see how a system that I trusted turned on me. Here's a common mistake that gets wholesalers sued. Just recently, there was an Arizona federal appeals case, and after that case came out, it became popular to say wholesalers aren't subject to TCPA laws because we're not soliciting. We're not trying to sell something. You see, we're trying to buy something. And while that is an accurate reading of that particular case, it's a completely wrong understanding of how the law is applied. You see, in that one instance, the judge did rule in the wholesaler's favor, but courts all over the country have ruled in the opposite way. That Arizona case is instructive, but not binding in other districts. Consent is still required. And consent is not just a yes. Consent is a verifiable record with an expiration date. I call it the consent receipt. You need to know where it came from, what it covers, whether it's still valid for the type of outreach you're doing. And you have to keep it for 4 years. How did you get the lead? What consent was given? How long was the consent given for? And proof that you never violated it. So here's your first rule. Any lead where you can't produce the consent receipt is a risky call. Don't make it. But even if you've got that handled, if you're buying leads, let's say from a pay-per-lead service, you're trusting another company with a huge compliance problem. Imagine you call your vendor for that consent receipt, and instead of proof, all you get back are excuses, delays, and silence. That silence is the sound of your business being suffocated. You're sitting there right now thinking, yeah, Jason, but my vendor, they'll give me proof. I spent a lot of money with them, you know? I spent $500,000 with one vendor and they weren't able to provide me any proof. You're in a situation where the law is not in your favor. You see, the vendor knows that it's you, not them, that gets held liable for a bad lead and no consent receipt. Their promise is not the proof that's going to get you off the hook in a class action lawsuit. So what does a real consent receipt actually look like? I'm going to spell it out for you. The seller's name, their phone number, the date and time they submitted, IP address, device, browser, exact disclosure language, checkbox or a signature, the version of the consent form that was used, database audit logs, screenshots of the archived page, full opt-in and opt-out history. Whew, that's a mouthful. Now ask yourself, what would happen today if you asked your vendor to produce that consent receipt for a lead that they sold you 3.5, 4 years ago? If they can't, those leads are poisonous to your business. Don't contact them unless you're willing to take on all the liability. And a lot of people say, well, you know, I've heard about TCPA. Isn't it like $700 to $1,500 a call? You know, it's kind of the cost of doing business. Occasionally one of these is going to come up. That's what you would think. But the problem is these TCPA defendants are starting to get smart and they're creating class action lawsuits. In a class action lawsuit, The judge can require you to pull your phone records for the last 4 years, and you have to provide the consent receipts to prove that each one of those people has not been a victim of you violating the TCPA laws. Look, even if you nail consent and you get a solid consent receipt, there's still one thing that keeps me up at night. One thing that can blow up your business like a landmine on a walking path. Most wholesalers are just flying blind in a war zone. The hidden landmine is your belief that you're following the law without truly understanding the law. I call it TDS, Telephone Derangement Syndrome. Texting randomly, leaving pre-recorded voicemails, calling at all hours, using AI inappropriately, all outside the guidelines of the law, but believing that you're not subject to the rules. Believing that you'll never get caught. That's TDS. And before you get defensive, I was first sued and I realized that I had TDS worse than anybody. I was convinced that the rules didn't really apply to me, and boy was I wrong. Wholesalers believe calling back an inbound lead gives them free rein, and it doesn't. What you need is a system that makes the violation impossible. So turn off pre-recorded voicemails, auto dialing, voicemail drops. Click it off in your phone system. Set a weekly, monthly, or quarterly time to review your logs and make sure that nobody in your organization is breaking the rules. Run monthly or quarterly TCPA trainings for your staff and make every person in your organization that touches a phone sign an agreement not to violate TCPA with the rules spelled out in plain language. Those are the most basic steps to remove the fragility from your business. Illegal calls aren't moving you forward. They're moving you 10 steps back. So understand this. Your job was never to make the most number of calls, but it was rather to build a system that allows you and your staff to not be able to make illegal ones. Remember, TCPA lawsuits go back 4 years, but we can't go back to the future. All you can do is start cleaning up the mess today. Scaling your business without guardrails is the fastest way to lose control of the freedom machine that you have built. You have what you need to start cleaning up the system today. So don't wait until it becomes a federal lawsuit. For that entire year, I almost didn't sleep at all. It was a nightmare. In my next video, I'll talk about how my TCPA lawsuit sent my company spiraling out of control and ultimately into bankruptcy, and what it felt like when I realized that bankruptcy was my only option. If you found value in today's video, like, subscribe, and share it with other operators that you can help by giving them my story. Now, get this. Today, if my attorney's name lights up on my phone, I don't need to sit down or freak out anymore. I know I'm covered. And that is what freedom actually feels like.